This is Mali, land of sand, salt, and nomads. Ever since I was a kid, I've dreamed of this part of Africa. But Mali is more than the Sahara. Its great river, the Niger, flows past unique cultures that reflect its legendary past. On the outskirts of Timbuktu, gateway to the Sahara, I'm Art Wolfe. This is Travels to the Edge. Mali is a country with many different regions and distinct cultures. It's the 7th largest country on the African continent. Landlocked, it stretches from the subtropical Niger River Valley in the south to the arid Sahara Desert in the north. We're starting our journey in the rocky cliffs of the Dogon country. Then we'll descend into the lush Niger River Valley before heading north to the Sahara by way of Timbuktu. I'm exploring the Dogon country and the rest of Mali with our guide Amadou and with David Conrad, a scholar who has studied and lived in the country for many years. Oh, these buildings literally blend into this cliff. You wouldn't even see them from a distance.
Think of the centuries it took for the natural stone to be sculpted this way, and then they had to haul all that mud up there.
Looks like we're going into a house here. Wow. This is quite an inner sanctum, isn't it?
The ultimate fortified Dogon dwelling, I'd say.
This is really protected back in here. How did it happen that people would live here? I mean, isn't it easier out in the grassy plains?
Easier, but not as safe. They came here originally fleeing slave raiders. They were not Muslims, and they were fair game for the powerful Muslim rulers of surrounding regions, and they came here to hide out.
Slippery and steep. We're in a Dogon village, and the sun hasn't quite come up over the escarpment, so everything's bathed in soft light. And a little bit of the smoke, the subdued light, makes for a really artistic, very moody type of shot. I love the texture of this Dogon door, but also the texture of this older lady's skin. And they both tell a story of a harsh environment. Wow, stairway to heaven.
That's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
We're moving on to Kondagumu, a village renowned for its hunters.
Birapo. 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 Birapo.
This feels like a very powerful place to me.
When you kill an animal, you release enormous amounts of the spiritual power of the animal, and you have to be protected from that. So a hunter is, in a way, a kind of a priest, because he has to have that protection from the spirit world and that communication with the spirit world in order to be successful.
It's interesting to me that I've traveled in the Amazon and other places in Africa and throughout wild Asia, and there's this connection to the animals that are hunted, and there's a reverence towards the animals that they hunt, and often they are displayed.
Yeah, they respect their prey, and they take into account the spirit of the animals that they're killing.
We've hiked on to a neighboring village where we've been invited to watch a traditional Dogon mask dance. This is one of the great legendary dances of Africa. Beautiful, but can you tell me a little more about what I'm photographing?
We've got the dancers reflecting this pervasive spirituality of Dogon culture, and also the amazing sculpture of Dogon culture, which is of course world famous. And the sculptures originated with their perceptions of the spirits that come out and dance the Dhamma, or the funerals. And they all belong to the realm of the dead.
We're heading down from the Dogon cliffs into the Niger River Delta. Our first stop is the medieval mud brick city of Jenny. Because of its role as a hub in the gold trade, Jenny once rivaled Timbuktu in importance during the Mali Empire. Today, in the Islamic world of West Africa, it is still a very important city. This is really a beautiful mosque. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it looks like it's 500 or 600 years old, but it's actually 100 years old this year. It was built in 1907 on the ruins of the previous mosque, and there have most likely been mosques here for 5 or 6 centuries.
I love it. It's got a beautiful organic shape to it. It's very much in keeping with Africa, isn't it?
It's the texture of this part of Africa.
The architecture is stunning, but seen within the context of the religion and all these people, it really comes to life. Wouldn't you agree?
It's just a definitive scene from this part of Mali.
What's really nice to see all these people come pouring out of this building.
Very vibrant, definitive example of the local culture here in Jenny.
moving on from Jenny along the Niger River. Everything happens along the river, from washing clothes to washing bicycles to washing sheep. And there's no better way to experience the river than actually being on it. In the whole scheme of things, the Niger River is one of the bigger rivers in Africa.
It's the third largest, about 2,825 miles. When the river rises, it just spreads out all over the delta, creates a giant lake. When the river recedes at the end of the high water season, it deposits silt, so it's very fertile agricultural lands. The populations gravitated down here after 5,000 BCE, looking for a better way to live. Whoever was in power, this was absolutely essential to their prosperity because this was its great area for food production. This was the breadbasket of the Mali Empire.
Who are these people, David?
Well, they're called the Bozo, and they've constructed their entire culture around the river activities, the boating, fishing, and transport.
Everybody is coming down and doing chores or washing their goats or bathing or even cleaning whatever they've got. The river really is that kind of the focal point in activity.
And we get to see, get a real hint of their cycle of daily life.
So this is Mopti.
Yeah, these are the boats that carry people and cargo throughout the Great Bend of the Niger. It's a very historic scene because this is the way they've been doing it for many centuries.
What I'd like to do is try to find a place to maybe shoot these beautiful boats against the sun. We're leaving the river and driving nearly a full day north to Timbuktu, the historic portal to the Sahara. Ever since I was a little boy, I've heard of Timbuktu. What makes this place so legendary?
Well, it was the gateway to the Sahara and all the wealthy salt trade that went north from here. And Europeans always thought of it as probably the most isolated city on Earth.
So what's happened to Timbuktu in modern times?
Well, by the 17th century, the European traders had come down the Atlantic coast, so all the trade shifted southward, and gradually the trade across the Sahara based in Timbuktu dried up.
Leaving Timbuktu behind, we're heading far out into the Sahara with our mini caravan of SUVs. First stop, the historic oasis town of Erawan. You know, it's staggering to think that this Sahara, which is so sparsely populated, is actually the size of the United States.
It's so huge. It takes up a third of the African continent. Wow. It's one of the biggest natural features on the entire planet.
David, this is such a severe environment. It's really hard to imagine people living here.
It really is. In fact, for a long time, the Sahara was thought of as a barrier between North Africa and Africa south of the desert. But it was really a highway. There were highways across it for the transport of the salt trade. The people themselves who were participating in it didn't think of it as a barrier at all. Armies went back and forth across it.
And now it's the land of the Tuareg.
Tuareg are Berber people who originated in North Africa, and they gradually established themselves as permanent residents of the Sahara Desert. They don't want to be anywhere else. These wells are spaced at intervals throughout the desert, and that's how these nomads survive. It takes a local Tuareg herder to be able to know where they are, to find them. And if they don't find them, they don't survive.
We've been invited for tea in the Sahara with a Tuareg family camped outside of Erewhon. Since Tamashek isn't one of my languages, our guide, Amadou, will be translating. Yeah, let's get in here out of the sun. Looks cool. Nice. Ah, thank you.
Very good.
You like that? Okay, look at Wow, it's so nice to be able to show the big picture. These computers are a great way of connecting with people now. For me, it's fun to look at them too because it brings back instant memories. Tonight, we'll camp Tuareg style in the open desert. It's very traditional for the Tuaregs to sit around a campfire, share a pot of tea, have a little meal, and go to bed for a long night because tomorrow it's the same thing. They'll get up, load the salt on the camels, and head on further south. Wow, you can imagine what this animal feels with 160 pounds of salt on its back. Not too happy. This salt trade, which is centuries upon centuries old, still exists out here in the middle of the Sahara. To see these Tuaregs load their camels with blocks of salt, 4 blocks of salt that are 20 kilos in weight that have been cut out of an ancient seabed to the north in the middle of the Sahara, and they're bringing them south, and along the way they pause, and now they're loading them up after a long night's rest, and they're moving on south to Timbuktu. I'm gonna be trying to get that moment when the dust is flying, the sand is flying, the ropes are flying. It'll be very, very dramatic. There. Wow, this is very, very nice right now. I've got great textured sand. In fact, you can always gauge a really nice situation by whether the shot looks great without the main subject. And right now, the sand itself is beautiful, but with camels, it's extraordinary. This is really intense working conditions. The sand is blowing, the wind is racing across the tops of these dunes here in the Sahara, but it's all worth it. I love the way that they're coming out of that sand dune. It's almost like they're materializing out of the sand itself. Wow, what a beautiful, timeless view. To watch a camel train cross the dunes, it's like looking into the past. The textures, the smells, the sounds of the camels, all of it is playing into this experience. The sun is setting over the Sahara, right behind this camel train. Such a classic image. Such a beautiful image. Exploring Mali has been like visiting 3 different countries in just one small part of Africa. And within these widely different landscapes and climates are a multiplicity of cultures and people that have made me feel welcome every step of the way. I'm Art Wolfe. Join me next time on Travels to the Edge. It's the coldest, windiest, highest, and driest continent on the planet. It's a landscape shaped by wind, rock, and ice. This is Antarctica, a place like nowhere else on Earth. I'm Art Wolfe. Join me on Travels to the Edge. Before exploring Antarctica, the planet's southernmost continent, I couldn't resist a quick stop in the remote Falkland Islands, which lie east of the tip of South America. Surrounded by the cold South Atlantic, the Falkland Islands are an isolated sanctuary for marine mammals and birds that thrive in these high latitudes. I'm on a very remote island off the northeast corner of the Falkland Islands known as Steeple Jason. This island has never been inhabited by man, and consequently it is absolutely covered in black-browed albatrosses. Tens of thousands of pairs nest on this island. One of the nice things that I experience while I'm sitting here photographing these albatrosses is the sensation of these birds coming directly overhead as they're landing or catching the currents. Some albatrosses literally circumnavigate the globe between nesting seasons. So they're birds that are born to fly, and they only come ashore once during the nesting season. Otherwise, these birds are on the wing, off the land, and out over the air currents. Although their numbers are declining, this is still the largest black-browed albatross rookery in the world. Literally hundreds of thousands of birds are nesting in this sprawling plain all the way to the sea. And to photograph it, I'm choosing to shoot patterns. Basically shooting the repetition of every bird shape that is evenly spaced across this plain. These isolated islands present a unique opportunity to get close to one of the world's rarest raptors. I've got a great shot right now of this caracara, which is a striated caracara, also known as a Johnny Rook. This is an opportunistic bird of prey that is always looking for the exposed egg or the unattended baby. I'm shooting it with a wide-angle lens, and I'm really bringing in this beautiful rugged coastline, the beautiful deep blues of the ocean, the surrounding black-browed albatrosses, and it just makes a great shot. As evening approaches, tens of thousands of nesting birds settle in for the night. Here at the very end of the day, light is coming really at an oblique angle to these very calm black-browed albatross. Is really beautiful dark sky in the distance, and it's just the perfect shot to end the day. From the Falkland Islands, we're heading 600 miles farther south across the notorious Drake Passage to Antarctica. I've just spent the last 2 days at sea crossing the Drake Passage. And now the rewards, Antarctica. It is amazing. Fantastic light. Really, really excited to be here. I've asked Jeff Renner for a primer on the geologic history of this frozen landmass. So what can you tell me about the Antarctic Peninsula in particular?
Well, being a geologist, I look to the rocks primarily, and one of the earliest geologists down there did identify the Antarctic Peninsula as an extension of the Andes. In fact, it was called the Antarctandes. The geology of the Andes is similar to the geology which is in the peninsula. It's dormant here, it's finished now. The volcanic activity is finished, but it was a volcanic island arc.
Would you consider Antarctica a desert?
Well, by definition, a desert is not necessarily temperature controlled, but it's the amount of precipitation. And sure enough, Antarctica is classed as perhaps the driest. It's a cold desert as against a hot desert. The snowfall where we are, it's maritime, so you may be getting 15 to 20 feet of snow a year. Not so on the mainland, the East Antarctica. Their snowfall may be only half an inch or so a year. But the difference there is that it doesn't go. It stays, it accumulates, and then it gradually turns to ice and then flows outward from the interior to carve off through the glaciers, and you gradually get this huge mass of floating ice. That is an ice shelf.
I'm often asked, what is my favorite place to photograph on Earth? And without hesitation, I always respond Antarctica and South Georgia Island. Virtually anywhere I take my camera and aim it, I've got a great image, whether it's the ice and the beautiful way the light reflects off the water and these beautiful mountains. Got a small rookery of Gentoo penguins sitting on this rock promontory with this beautiful backdrop of a glacier. All these Gentoo penguins are incubating eggs, and they've made a nest literally out of tiny pebbles. There are no grasses, there are no sticks down here in the Antarctica, so they make do with what they've got. All day long, they still rock after rock after rock until the nest that they're stealing from no longer has rock. Stone thief, stone thief. Look at that bird. There's no pride in these birds. They'll come over 10 feet away, steal the rock that this bird has really worked hard to steal from other birds. You've always got to keep your eye on these guys. You never know when they're going to sneak up behind you and steal things out of your pack. I've got a very interesting shot here. It's of Gentoo penguins nesting on a rock in the distance, and in the foreground I'm incorporating the bones of a humpback whale, which undoubtedly was harvested during the heyday of the whaling industry that really was centered here in the Antarctic during the beginning of the last century. One of the interesting birds that lives here is the blue-eyed shag. It's actually a cormorant that also feeds in the krill-rich waters here in these very, very cold seas. The distinctive thing about the blue-eyed shag is the blue eye, and it is such a beautiful color. It's almost a deep cobalt blue that rings the eye. Well, this is exactly what I was hoping to get, which is a really nice framing of this mountain now with these very abstract, almost magical icicles hanging down, and each icicle has a little frozen drop. Oh, this is beautiful. As remote as this continent is, it hasn't escaped the influence of man. History professor Tim Bowman describes the early history of whaling here. What do you know about the whaling industry down here? I mean, when did it start and what was the extent of it?
Well, whaling began in the Antarctic in a serious way in 1904 when C.A. Larson established a base in South Georgia. but it affected the whole of the Antarctic region. And over a period of time, huge numbers of whales were taken until the industry basically shut down. What we're looking at in terms of numbers is over 1 million killed whales. And if you want to take that 1 million whale figure and make it real, look out over the ocean. If you're anywhere down here, look into the bay. We have a bay behind us right now. Look out there. Do you see a spout? I'm telling you, in 1904, you'd have had a hard time counting the spouts. You could have walked ashore on the backs of the whales.
I'm intrigued by the way the residue of the whaling industry is disintegrating and aging, lichens attached to this metal as it breaks down. And there's a lot of textures and colors that I find very intriguing. I really love the way these rivets have really exploded and disintegrated as the cold and the ice works its way into the recesses, and they just explode. During the process of thawing and freezing, it just really wreaks havoc on metal. And as cracks appear, lichens establish a foothold, and the whole thing now becomes a study of texture and color, and that's really what I'm after. These zodiacs are absolutely perfect for this environment. They have the ability just to be like mini icebreakers, pushing through the ice, getting us into great, great positions. The thing that I think defines Antarctica more than anything is ice. And behind me is a classic iceberg. And unlike any iceberg I've photographed before, this one is full of icicles. And it presents a new subject in a beautiful, ethereal way. This is about as dynamic an environment as you'd find anywhere. And everything's changing. Nothing stays the same. All the configurations of the icebergs are constantly moving around in these currents. I could just stay here and shoot all day long. There's several Weddell seal pups just frolicking in and amongst the ice that's building up along the shore. They're very, very young, and yet, even at this age, they're practicing behaviors that will really serve them well as adults. So sparring and engaging and always trying to get the upper hand with their other baby will teach them the necessary skills as adults to really survive in this really difficult and harsh environment. Really nice, gentle expression, which is just the perfect counter to this really hostile world. He's very curious. He's just playing like all babies would, completely unafraid of us. And he's coming in closer. He's gonna come in, hello. And I'm staying very low, so he's really, really curious. And wow, just beautiful. It's those moments throughout my career that I take home and I'll remember the rest of my life. Those nice, engaging moments between photographer and subject where there's just this bond of trust. And it's really what it's about. This is a classic Antarctic scene. Adelie penguins sitting on ice right along the shore. I've got icebergs behind them that are really distinctive in their shapes, and then really dramatic clouds in the distance, these lenticular clouds, which are really indicative of high winds in the atmosphere. It is truly Antarctica. There are 17 different species of penguins. The Adelie, like the emperor, are truly birds of the ice. They are at the most upstaged by penguins. I got a really nice pair of Adelie penguins just sitting there, and the way their flippers, if I move my camera ever so much, it's like they're holding hands. Right now I've got a beautiful shot of a single penguin, and I'm framing it through an iceberg on the beach that has a natural hole in it. So it's really a nice way of looking at a penguin in yet, again, a different way. I've got a beautiful pattern of about 60 Adelie penguins, and their black and white coloration is really, really striking in this late afternoon light. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, and here's one coming in. Oh, there they go. Wow. I feel like a fox in a chicken coop here. There's so much to shoot. I love the patterns of the ice, the late afternoon light, the austerity of this place, for me, is magnificent. Oh, wait a minute, look at this. Great, just keep heading towards this iceberg. There's a great iceberg we're approaching, and as the light gets lower, the icicles hanging off the overhang really are catching the light. 6 to 7/10 of this iceberg lies below the surface of this water. And that's what's so deceiving about it. Oh, this is a great shot right now. All the icicles are really highlighted by the light, and I've got a nice gray backdrop. Wow. If this doesn't exemplify Antarctica, I don't know what else does. My mission as a photographer is really to translate the environment. I love to challenge myself to record the environment, to show people maybe the Antarctic they've never seen before. I'm Art Wolfe. Join me next time on Travels to the Edge. I'm in Brazil exploring one of the great wetland treasures. But this is not the Amazon. It's the Pantanal, and it's an ecological paradise. I'm Art Wolfe. This is Travels to the Edge. Pantanal is a landlocked river delta that experiences annual cycles of flooding and drought. Lying in the center of the South American continent, the Pantanal stretches south of the Amazon basin and east of the Andes, crossing the borders of eastern Bolivia and Paraguay into west-central Brazil. I'm traveling with Russ Mittermeier, one of the world's leading conservationists and an expert on this pristine and biologically rich ecosystem.
The Pantanal is the world's largest wetland. It's an incredible area that is something on the order of 20 times the size of our Everglades, which is our most famous wetland, and it has enormous concentrations of wildlife, densities of some of the most important flagship species in the South American continent.
So this is a giant floodplain. And does it flood, in fact?
It does, in fact, flood every year, and that's one of the interesting things about the Pantanal is the dynamic of the water. At certain times of year, parts of the Pantanal are entirely underwater, like a gigantic lake, and the animals have to move into the slightly higher areas to avoid the water. But many of them, like the capybaras, for example, are perfectly adapted to an aquatic system.
I'm getting a great shot of two hyacinth macaws just playing on a branch. It's so nice when the two are together. They just are interacting. I really like those kind of shots where two animals are really showing some sort of affection or connection.
And of course, macaws are birds that have very strong pair bonds. Very often they mate for life, and this preening behavior is really part of maintaining that pair bond. This is a really incredible group of 4 species of macaws that are entirely blue. This one, the hyacinth macaw, is 5,000 or so individuals remaining, which really isn't very much. And the majority of those are found here in the Pantanal. It's a bit deceiving, though, when you see them so common here in these fazendas in the southern part of the Pantanal, you don't really appreciate the fact that this is a species that is really endangered and is extremely hard to find anywhere else outside the Pantanal.
The reason they're going extinct in the wild is they're being collected.
Wildlife trade, absolutely. They're worth thousands, tens of thousands of dollars per animal. And so there's a huge incentive to capture them and sell them illegally. This is their major stronghold, and if they're going to survive into the future, this is where it's going to be. These are chestnut-eared arasaris, and it's a small toucan, basically. The toucans and the arasaris, my second favorite group of birds after the parrots and the macaws here in South America.
Oh, these guys are really colorful with that yellow and that red or rust color. They are cool birds. This is definitely my favorite of the toucans. It's so striking.
Yeah, this is the classic Fruit Loops toucan. This is Ramphastus toko, the toko toucan, which is the largest of all the toucans. Spectacular, huge beak, and that blue eye ring, and deep black eye. It's really an impressive creature. It looks almost top-heavy. The bill is so large, it looks like he's almost going to fall over.
The whole beak and the eyes standing out through that tangle of branches, and it's really actually a beautiful shot.
If you wanted to design a spectacular-looking species, this is the kind of thing that you would come up with.
Absolutely.
This is one of these rare places where human activities and wildlife are able to coexist very, very effectively. And about 95% of the land here is in large land holdings, these fazendas, these big farms or ranches where cattle are raised at a fairly low density, and they're able to coexist very effectively with almost all of the wildlife. Here you still have cowboys herding cattle, moving them through this landscape the way they did 100, 150 years ago in the American West.
It feels very much like the Old West with palm trees. Pantanal cowboy is very much a throwback to the Old West of North America. This is quite a traditional scene that's been unfolding for over 100 years, and just to get this is really a beautiful moment. It's very interesting that cattle are watching us. This is really quite striking with these 1,000 head of cattle coming through this water. It's amazing. What a scene. That was nice. What a nice moment. I agree. Absolutely fantastic. It's roundup time on these big cattle ranches. I'm now trying to get a sense of the cowboy culture. This cowboy is rounding up these cattle. They're backlit and covered in dust, and suddenly it becomes a painting. Low-density cattle ranching is the #1 industry here, and hard-working Pantanal cowboys are the backbone of this economy. As a long day comes to a close, these Pantanaros make camp and get ready to enjoy some well-deserved downtime. This is really a beautiful moment in the early morning mist as these Pantanaros get ready for their journey. This is just like the Old West with these grand cattle drives, and it's happening still here in the Pantanal. The low angle of light early in the morning where the Pantanaros are breaking camp and they're rounding up the cattle and they're moving on for another journey across the Pantanal. And the rising mist, the angle of the light, it's like looking into multiple paintings. And these are the moments when I can't believe how lucky I am to have been here. These caiman are one of the most emblematic and prehistoric animals of the Pantanal. Their teeth grow so long they come up through their snout. It's a really nice situation with wild animals, given the fact that they're unpredictable and they have sharp teeth. Makes me a little bit apprehensive, but I'm going to try to slowly maneuver around and get some very provocative and very interesting shots. Okay, that's actually a nice shot. This is right in their face, and all I got is a shot of teeth and really interested caiman. Not only predators that exist in abundance in the Pantanal, birds are especially diverse, and they thrive here. The challenge of photographing kingfishers is maneuvering the boat in a current, trying to get up close to what is normally a pretty jittery and erotic little bird. Oh, so beautiful. Wow, that beak is pretty impressive. That's what's so classic about these kingfishers is their beaks are enormous. I love it when their little tail cocks up at an angle. They open their beak and they chatter. That is a perfect kingfisher moment. Just got him before he flew. I'm so happy. That was really nice. Oh, there he is. Let's go up here one more time. I love following an animal like this in its environment and trying to get that shot. This little river otter is very smart and very elusive. And when we go downriver, it goes up. If we go right, it goes left. Spending 3 hours on this river. There he is. I'm willing it to come out on this log. Oh, he's back upriver. There's either 2 river otters or this one is really fast. Now he's come out of the water. He's chomping on a fish. And where is he? 100 yards downriver. We lose again. This caiman's come in for a really close view. And just the way the light is playing on its head and reflecting in the water, there's a really nice mirror image. Driving down the roads with a giant spotlight, you can pick up so many animals. certain animals like owls and giant potus, cats certainly, have highly reflective eyes. It's really like an Easter egg hunt. You're out there hoping to see something looking back at you out of the blackness. Look at that, Russ.
Oh yeah, great potu. What an amazing bird.
Using this powerful spotlight to illuminate the subject works really well. Otherwise, I'd have a flash here that only goes out about 30 feet. Clearly, that potu is about 50 or 60 feet away. It's so bizarre looking.
Very cool bird.
I've got a giant anteater over here about 15 feet away. It's one of the most iconic animals of the Pantanal. Wow, they're so bizarre. These animals hang out during the day in the quiet refines of the forest, but at night they come out into this open grassland that is so characteristic of the Pantanal. They eat 30,000 ants a day, which is an amazing amount, but given the size of the animal, they really need that quantity to survive. I'm photographing a paraki, which is a nightjar. It's a nighttime bird. Got really beautiful eyes, but more importantly, a very camouflaged set of feathers. They rely on their camouflage to remain hidden. So as long as this bird thinks that I can't see it, it's going to stay in place. I'm going to quickly get a shot here, because as soon as we take the spotlight away, it's gone. It will take off. Make a little sound, he keeps looking. That's it, that's it. This looks like a great horned owl, but I don't believe it is.
No, it looks like the striped owl. Well, you have good luck with owls. You've seen a bunch of them already on this trip.
Oh, I just love them. I mean,
Yeah,
their
they're great
eyes are
animals.
so big, and look at the rust color on that one. I know there's something in here because we saw the eye shine.
Oh, look.
It's an ocelot.
It's an ocelot.
That is unbelievable. We've got an ocelot right here.
They are so difficult to see in the wild.
Wow, he is so pretty. Look at how he's just wanting to come out, but he's so tentative.
There's a number of spotted cats here in South America, and this is the second largest after the jaguar, and it's just a stunningly beautiful animal.
That was fleeting, but beautiful. Getting shots of wildlife takes patience and determination. So I'm back to flesh out that wily otter.
Oh, he's got a fish.
I'm getting stellar shots of a really reclusive little otter munching on a fish. It's great light because the sun is right at my back, and it's a very difficult shot, but there's a gap through these logs. Look at his two little paws around that fish. I mean, he's a happy camper right now. What a call. I've never heard anything quite like that.
Fantastic. They're so noisy. This is the giant otter, really the great flagship species of the Pantanal and one of the great animals of South America. In many of the Spanish-speaking countries, they call it Lobo de Rio, the wolf of the river.
This is amazing. These guys are so big, and they're so noisy. What's the weight of these guys?
Boy, these guys will get up around 70 pounds.
70
and
pounds.
6 to 7 feet long. They're really very, very big animal when you see them stretched out on land, and they're just incredibly agile and most efficient fishermen you could ever imagine. It's like a aquatic leopard. Or a puma. He's looking right at us.
This is really nice.
It's just incredible.
We're obviously at a distance that they feel comfortable. You know, otters epitomize play behavior as far as I'm concerned. This is beautiful right now. I love floating down the river and just having things pass by gently.
This is a great time of day. Pantanal is about as close to a paradise as you can find.
Well, certainly this evening on this river,
It's just gorgeous.
I would not debate that.
Capybara, caimans, the birds flying to their roosting sites. And this is the kind of place where you really can achieve conservation objectives too, at a significant scale.
I'd love to bring a lot of people that live in the city that have never gone out into a wilderness area, plunk them down, let them see the sheer amount of wildlife here, and you'd have a conservationist forever. I'm Art Wolfe. Join me next time on Travels to the Edge. I've been traveling for over 30 years, but I've never traveled to this part of the world. This is West Africa, the home of voodoo, where animism and ancestors are part of everyday life. I'm Art Wolfe. This is Travels to the Edge. West Africa stretches from the Sahara in the north to the Atlantic Ocean, which forms the region's western and southern borders. We're visiting tiny Benin and Togo, which push northward from the infamous Slave Coast. Pretty cool. Gliding through the tall grass in a completely new country, heading to a village where I have no idea what we're gonna see. We're starting our journey in Togo. Joining me is Paul Egboglo, a local expert on the people, culture, and traditional religions of West Africa. Dogon, or Voodoo, as it is often called, is an ancient religion. Its rituals, which invoke ancestral spirits, can be powerful and intense. The villagers are chanting and drumming, and this guy's just going wild. They're definitely getting really whipped up into some sort of frenzy here. It's very translate, and I can't tell whether some people are coming in to try to protect them from themselves or what, but it's very serious.
You see that they are cutting themselves,
yes,
and they are bleeding. That is their way to offer their blood to the divinity that they worship. Instead of offering goats or chicken or animal to the divinity, they prefer to offer their blood.
And they haven't taken any drugs to get to the stage.
Nothing at all.
It's all mental.
No alcohol, no drugs. It's not mental neither, it's spiritual.
I'm going to move in and see if I can get a better shot. frenzied activity, not just with the dancers, but even with what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to move really fast, get details. Wow, what a place here, Paul.
This is the largest fetish market in West Africa. The fetish market's like a pharmacy. You know, when you have a spiritual problem, and you go to see the fetish priest, and that priest will tell you to go to the market, to the fetish market, and buy some animals, all the animals that you can see here.
I see chameleons, birds, vultures, cats, dogs.
Yeah, antelope skin. All these items are used to prepare potion to cure diseases.
So all these different animals are used specifically for various illnesses?
Yeah.
The chameleons, for instance, what do they do with those things?
Asthma.
For asthma.
Asthma. So they will grind it and they'll get a powder out of it and mix that powder with honey, and so they will lick it.
So they'll lick the powder of a ground up desiccated chameleon for asthma. Oh, I'm so glad I don't have asthma. I see ostrich egg here, turtles, monitor lizard. What are these little guys? What are
you know, these are, we call them twin doll.
Okay.
So when somebody gives birth to twins, and one happened to die, it happened that one of them died. So they will replace him or her by this figure. So, and this figure will be treated like a living human being. We believe that witches, they can take the form of birds. So to make a powder against witches' attack, so they will burn all the birds and get a black powder, and so they will cut the person, and when the person starts bleeding, they put the black powder in the blood. So you are vaccinated against witches' attack. It might be shocking for you.
It's pretty shocking to me.
But, you know, that is West Africa.
Yeah.
Out we are in the house of the fetish priest. Hello. Bonjour. This is the most important place in the shrine. So once a patient is brought here to the fetish priest, he used to bless them.
What is a fetish and what's the power of it?
You see that figure, many figures here.
Right.
They are wood, they are in wood carving, but they are blessed. So once they are blessed, they contain a power, magical power or voodoo power. They are called fetish.
I'm watching him put things on the ground now. What is that he's doing?
These are kola nuts. So he can use, the form of the four kola nuts to predict the future or to predict whether we have good luck or bad luck.
I would not want to be alone by myself in this room at night.
Yeah, because you are not used to it.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
We're heading westward to Benin, to the Slave Coast, where the spirits of countless Africans departed their homeland.
This is the gate of no return. the place where all the silver have been taken up to all over the world.
So this beach was the place where most slaves came through and out to the rest of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And that is even the reason why they call this coast Slave Coast.
So is this like the most significant monument to the slave trade?
Oh yes, yes.
Really?
Oh yes. If you carefully look at the monument, you see the ship in the water.
Yes.
And slaves are convoyed to the ship. You see they are chained or shackled.
Yep.
And that's the way they used to send them to the beach. And they do that by night. And the purpose of doing this is that they don't want people to be aware of that business. So it's a night business.
To think of how many lives were altered through the slave trade. They came through this beach, were taken out to sea, and ultimately to America.
Yeah.
Really powerful location.
It's powerful.
As I'm traveling through West Africa, one of the delightful discoveries is the sheer variety of dress and patterns and color. This is wonderful chaos. This is colorful chaos. What's really nice right now is there's this brooding sky that's coming over this very colorful market. The light is saturated, the color is really rich, and I'm shooting it with a filter that enables me to bring out the best color in the sky and retain the detail in the dress. The long shadow of the slave trade can be felt everywhere in West Africa. In fact, the stilted town of Gonvier exists because of slave raiders.
The villagers here, they were anyway running away from slave raiders. And so they found shelter here, and they stay here. Actually, the meaning of the name Gonvier means free at last.
They didn't have a tradition of building their homes out over the water before that.
Yeah, they don't have that. You know, the problem they were facing, it helped them to devise that way of building.
So what do you think is happening here?
These people, they are collecting bamboo. These bamboos are used as a stick, you know, steel. They build houses on it.
Hello, hello, hello!
Hello.
Look at these boats.
Look at the lady.
There's such a graceful way that they glide through the water.
M'appelle Gary. Viens me vendre Gary.
Do you have a license to be paddling that boat?
Yeah.
As we drive through Benin, I'm struck by its timelessness. Getting off the road to explore the small villages often yields special moments. Wow, this is a beautiful village. I love the shapes of these huts.
Yeah.
What village is this?
Taneka Berry.
Wow.
Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Hi. Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Very nice. Beautiful.
Keep talking.
Beautiful. What is this? This is the chief staff.
Yeah, that's the chief staff. You know,
The lion on top.
lion, symbol of leadership,
Yes.
as well as elephant,
Elephant
as
is
symbol of strength.
right. This is the chief of the village.
Yeah.
And yet this is the.
The priest, fetish priest.
Are they equal in stature?
Actually, they have a different role. The fetish priest is the spiritual leader or the religious leader. And the chief actually is the political leader. So, both of them, they are very, very important.
I think in North American Plains Indians, they had shamans and they had chiefs. Very similar in
Yeah.
structure.
To say the world is small.
The world is small.
Yeah.
Two of those eyes. Do you like? Yeah? I make you look young, don't I? Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Very, very nice. I love those moments. Really nice moments of somebody that has such wisdom in their eyes. It's really powerful. I've never seen wool spun like that. It's so simple. And she's just twisting it on this simple little peg. It's really quite lovely. Hey guys. Am I not the best photographer you've ever seen? Probably the only photographer they've ever seen. During festival season, dances can be found everywhere throughout Benin's tiny villages. This village dance is really a morality tale, offering a life lesson.
Each marks show a spiritual or social or economic or moral life in the society. This mask,
Yes.
it's denouncing those who cannot control their sexual life. It's showing the consequence of having a lot of children.
Well, it's pretty
Children,
effective.
Yeah.
Whenever I come into a new situation like that, I'm trying to figure out how everything lines up, how the performance is going to be, and I try to adjust, and I try to make very fast decisions. Sometimes I'm right, and a lot of times I'm wrong, but this has the makings for something very beautiful. Most of the people in this part of West Africa practice indigenous religions, Vodam and animism. But there are remnants of Benin's rich cultural history, including these Islamic tribesmen, the Kodakali. This is really a nice scene of these 6 riders coming down this open savanna. It's actually quite extraordinary to think that there's a horse culture here in West Africa. Beautiful. These horses appear to be dancing literally to the rhythm of the drums. Right now I've gotten some pretty sharp shots of these horses really prancing. Now I'm going to try something entirely different. I'm going to take a deliberately long exposure and to try to create something a little more artistic. Now this is a cool angle. It's incredibly instructive and satisfying to be able to review an image at full frame in the field.
This dance is a really exciting one.
Yeah?
Its name is Egungun.
Ngugun.
Egungun is the dance of ghosts. And the dancers are possessed by the spirits of the ancestors. So they're kind of middlemen between ancestors and the living one. Very, very spiritual. That's why you don't even touch the dancers.
All right, so let's take a look, okay?
Never forget, don't touch them.
I actually don't know what's going on, but it's a lot of fun. These dancers are terrorizing the participants. The audience is taunting the dancers, so the dancers respond by chasing them, and they go back and forth, and it's a game of cat and mouse. When these spirit dancers chase the crowd, nobody wants to be touched by them. And I don't want to get touched either. It's just like an elaborate ballet. I've never seen so many different traditions in such a small area. West Africa is a very colorful place. These structures are really different than anything we've seen to date.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, it's because of slavery.
Because of slavery?
Slavery. They come to the idea of setting up a dwelling that will help them protect themselves against slave raiders.
So they don't only look like castles, they really are castles.
Yeah, they're fortified houses. They use just mud, wood, and straw. That's all, these three elements to make it thick and strong. So that is, even if you are poor, you don't need to be rich to own your house.
I'm getting a great shot right now of this older lady with this very traditional headdress. And what I love about the shot is I've positioned her in front of a dark spot, and beyond her is a light spot and another door. So there's a really nice pacing of light, dark, that goes in a rhythm throughout this photo. And the other thing that's really nice is the study of textures and the monochromatic colors of beige that really runs throughout the photo. So it's very unified on multiple levels. It's a lovely, lovely shot. What I've done now is I've got this lady, same lady I just photographed, inside and silhouetted it against the adobe wall. And it just makes a very provocative shot. And it's provocative because you don't see her face and you only respond to shape and outline of human body. Certainly one of the things that I'm able to do now that I was never able to do in the days I shot film is to show the people I'm photographing exactly what I've shot. And it's really a nice way of connecting to the people, right? Yeah, she said right. It's really amazing how rhythm permeates every aspect of this culture. They're actually working on evening out the courtyard with a mixture of mud and water. And I've found it, as usual, a really engaging subject. Paul, this seems like a very chaotic scene here tonight. What's going on?
Yeah, we are having a fire dance.
A fire dance?
Fire dance.
So what is the significance of a fire dance?
Yeah, it's about showing the spiritual power of the local people. It's not easy to handle fire. But these people, you know, they are so strong and they can touch it. They will not be burned at all. They are possessed by the spirits, and it's a really spiritual business.
They're literally laying in the fire, eating coals, demonstrating their strength and their power over witchcraft. Everywhere I've been in West Africa, I keep on finding something completely unexpected. For me, it's all bizarre and it's all great. I'm Art Wolfe. Join me next time on travels to the edge.